in 2023, we've had a couple of royal weddings. We have had tiaras that have not been seen in 90 to 100 years. And we've also had just some great moments of some younger ladies starting to wear tiaras within the royal fold. Hello everyone, welcome to Royal Fashion News. My name is Brittany and today we are taking a retrospective, a look back at all of the tiara moments, or I would say the best tiara moments of 2023. Usually I would try to do this on Tuesdays. Usually we have Tiara Tuesdays. I wasn't able to get to Tuesday because of the holiday and everything. But today we are going to capture all these great moments and share with you what I think are some of the best tiara moments of this year. So guys, let me know your comments down below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I actually kind of ranked these. So we're doing 10. So we're going to start at number 10, which is the state visit between Spain and Denmark. And while there are a lot of state visits that occur throughout Europe during this year, I think the ones that are the most fun are ones between the respective royal houses, because obviously usually there's family connections, and oftentimes as well, usually the royals bring their best because they are among their peers, and this state visit was no exception. We had Queen Margrethe of Denmark in the Danish Emerald Tiara. It was commissioned in 1840 by Christian VIII, and the emeralds were originally though from 1723 and were given to Queen Sophie Magdalene by her husband, King Christian VI. So this tiara is actually part of the Danish royal crown jewels. So it's actually on display most of the time. So Queen Margrethe does have to make special preparations to borrow this particular tiara. But I do think it's absolutely lovely and gorgeous. She looked amazing. And her counterpoint at this event was Queen Letizia of Spain. And she was wearing Queen Edna's fleur-de-lis tiara. And this is the largest one within the Spanish collection. Now, I don't think it's the one most substantial in terms of jewels, but it definitely has a height, because I think that thing is about 3 to 4 inches tall. It is very, very tall. It was commissioned and made by Anne Sorena in 1906, and it was a wedding present from King Alfonso XIII to his wife, Queen Edna. And this is sort of an interesting history here with this tiara, and I'll make this very brief. So it was left to the Count of Barcelona, who was the father of the former King Juan Carlos. So at the time, actually Spanish was under the rule of dictator Franco. And Franco decided that he actually wanted Juan Carlos to be king over his father, which of course caused a lot of stir. And the Count of Barcelona, so Juan Carlos's father, had possession of this tiara. So it wasn't until he formally renounced his rights to the throne in 1977 that at the time, Queen Sophia of Spain began to wear this tiara. And just a little bit of background as well, Juan Carlos had to abdicate due to scandal. So it took Queen Letizia a little bit of time to wear this tiara, but I think she looks great in it, although I will say I almost feel like it overwhelms her. It's so tall and she's so petite. And that is not the case for every royal lady, so it's just sort of an interesting thing to consider. But I did think it was a lovely showing, and I love her blue gown as well. And we also have Crown Princess Mary's Edwardian tiara. So this was purchased with a pair of earrings at auction in 2012. It can also be worn as a necklace, and that was the first time we saw it on Crown Princess Mary. And it also has ruby and spinels as part of its makeup, in addition to some diamonds. And this is a very, I would say, minor piece in a lot of ways. It's not real flashy, but the Danes, unfortunately, the previous queen, Queen Ingrid, ended up giving a couple of tiaras to her other daughter, which unfortunately means it takes some tiaras out of the main line of the family. In addition, that one of the tiaras that was given to actually the daughter-in-law of the queen, she actually won it in a divorce. So the Danes just don't have that many tiaras to choose from. They purchased one Crown Princess Mary wore at her wedding. She has one that was inherited, and then she has now this one that she has purchased. So she only has access to 3, which is different than a lot of other royal ladies. And so I think this looks gorgeous on her as well, although I will say it's not super exciting either. Okay, so next one we'll talk about is Crown Princess Victoria in the Napoleonic Amethyst Tiara. And Victoria wore this recently at the Swedish Nobels. And this is a gorgeous tiara, but it's very, very tricky to wear. And so I think she actually did a fabulous showing in this. I thought the dress was on par. The tiara placement, which again is sort of tricky, was actually perfect. And this tiara is actually originally a necklace. There was actually a frame created to make this into a tiara because the necklace was in fact quite heavy. These are very, very big amethysts, and they're originally 17. And now we're down to just 11, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's gorgeous, it's amazing, incredible, and given that there's now only 11 of the amethysts in the tiara, the other amethysts have been used in other things like brooches and even hair ornaments. So it's a beautiful piece. I think this was a particularly great showing by Victoria. Okay, so next we have the state visit between the Netherlands and Belgium, and I love this. Netherlands and Belgium, obviously, they're very close geographically, historically, and half the Belgian population speaks Dutch, and so there's a lot of connections there. And this was fun to see two queens who are about the same age just chatting it up, and in their tiaras, in their biggest tiaras, I gotta say as well. Queen Maxima is wearing the Stuart tiara, which I think is officially her favorite tiara. Now, this one's tricky because I call it the Stuart, but it's lacking the Stuart diamond, which is a 40 karat light blue diamond. And so it is just the lower setting. It's been in the family since 1897, and it's often also called the house diamond. So technically it should be the house diamond tiara, but let's be honest, that's a bit of a boring title. So we're gonna go with the Stuart because it has this regal air to it, and it has this connection throughout history, but again, it's missing that Stuart diamond. We've only seen Queen Maxima wear the full tiara one single time, and that was in the United Kingdom, which had the Stuart dynasty, so there is a family connection there, and family and historical connection because actually the Brits sued to get that particular diamond back, and they lost. And this, again, court case was centuries old. So there's a long connection there, and that's when she decided to wear it, which was perfectly appropriate. So I do particularly love this tiara. I love it when Maxima wears it. And I think between Maxima and Matilda, I think Maxima looked the best here as well. And Queen Matilda of the Belgians is wearing the 9 Provinces tiara. It was made in 1926 by Belgian jeweler Van Beer. And it was made at the time for Princess Astrid of Sweden, who became Queen of Belgium because she actually died quite young. And I think if I remember correctly, they actually have pictures of her in her coffin, which I just think is a little odd. I know that was kind of a thing at the time, but I just think it's a little odd. She died in a car accident. I don't know. Anyways, so it can be worn across the forehead, which was sort of a trend at the time in the 1920s. And the diamonds, the large diamonds, were originally on spikes. So you had the bandeau base and the diamond spikes on top, but they rightly decided to add the arches, which made it look better. And this is a particularly hefty piece for the Belgians who don't have a lot of tiaras. And we also have number 7 here. We have Beatrice in the York tiara. So this was at the wedding of Crown Prince Hussein, which we'll get to later. But I just wanted to highlight this one because this was a surprise. I wondered when Beatrice showed up at this wedding because obviously Catherine and William went, which was also a bit of a surprise because they generally don't go to foreign weddings. And they usually don't go to foreign royal weddings, and so Princess Beatrice also being included was a huge surprise, and so I wondered what she would wear because for her wedding, Beatrice wore the Queen Mary's fringe tiara, which I have pointed out, and I hope this will be the case in the future. It has been worn by every firstborn blood princess of her generation within the royal family. So you have Queen Elizabeth, you have Princess Anne, and then you have Princess Beatrice. And so the next person to technically wear it and should wear it is Princess Charlotte at her wedding. It is a more substantial tiara than somebody who is lower in the line of succession, like Beatrice would usually be allowed to wear. That tiara has been exclusively worn by Queen Elizabeth, with the exception of Princess Anne. So it's a very hefty piece. I would consider it one of the big gun tiaras within the British collection. So that it was worn by Princess Beatrice was utterly a surprise. But for this event, she instead wore her mother's, or borrowed her mother's, York tiara. And this was purchased from Gerard for Sarah Ferguson for her wedding in 1986, was it? Actually, can't quite remember. So Beatrice wore it at the wedding reception for Crown Prince Hussein. And so this was definitely a surprise, and a lovely surprise at that. And we also have Catherine, the Princess of Wales, who also attended. So she is in spot number 6 here. And I wanted to highlight this because Catherine has not attended a single foreign royal wedding. And I understand, she's popular, so maybe it would bring too much attention to her and not the bride. I sort of kind of get that. But it is weird because weddings in Europe are oftentimes where royals of a particular stature can socialize, and so Catherine and William really haven't had the opportunity to do that, and usually Sophie and Edward go. So it was a surprise to see Catherine there, and she wore the Queen Mary's Lover's Knot Tiara. And just a couple of facts here. It is a copy of the Cambridge Lover's Knot Tiara, which is different. It has actually pearl spikes on top in addition to the dangling pearls. And actually, the Queen Mary's Lover's Knot also had those briefly. And it takes pearls that were originally in the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara that sat on top of that. And this was obviously most famously loaned to Princess Diana in 1981. And now obviously it has been loaned to Catherine. And I will say, when I first saw Catherine's couple of tiara appearances, I'm not a fan of the lotus flower. I'm not really a fan of the Cartier halo. But I thought Catherine utterly and completely rocked the Queen Mary's Lover's Knot. I think Catherine absolutely rocks this tiara. And I especially love the gown, this Jenny Packham gown. Crown Princess Mary also owns it. It looks gorgeous. It's actually the pink version of her green gown. And so if you guys are enjoying this so far, if you love everything sparkly and diamonds, I do just want to highlight one of the sponsors for this video and channel is Ana Lucia Diamonds, which are lab created diamonds. They're absolutely gorgeous and amazing. And I have several that are within my collection. And what I love about these is I love diamonds and tiaras, and I love watching them sparkle. That's why I try to focus on getting some video. And I just really, really want my own sparkle in my life. And I feel like Ana Lucia brings that so utterly and completely. So if you are feeling a bit envious of these lovely royal jewels, then maybe check out Ana Lucia as well. And you might find something that you really, really like. And if you use my code ROYAL20, you get 20% off. Okay, so in spot number 5, we have Sweden's Golden Jubilee. And so this celebrates 50 years of King Carl Gustaf on the throne. And we're just gonna highlight basically the main line of the family. We have Queen Sylvia in the Braganza tiara. It was made in 1829, so it's quite old. It is very heavy and often also called the Brazilian tiara. And I was surprised to see Sylvia wear this. She just turned 80, so I'm sure this one's getting harder and harder to wear. But it's great to see her bust out the most impressive tiara within the Swedish collection, I think, in terms of diamonds. I think the cameo tiara is also incredibly beautiful, but I think this is the most substantial and historic piece in the collection. We also have Crown Princess Victoria in the Baden fringe tiara. So this was given to Princess Victoria of Baden in 1881. And this particular fringe tiara has a starburst motif. And I love this fringe. It's probably one of my favorite fringe tiaras. It has a very unique shape. The points are just a little bit different. And so I think this is stunning. I think Crown Princess Victoria wears it well. And I think once again, the choice here is fitting because according to rumors and supposition, this tiara is particularly reserved for use of the Crown Princess. Now we have seen other people wear it, including Queen Sylvia and a couple of the King's sisters, but Victoria's sister Madeline nor her sister-in-law Sophia have worn this particular tiara. And I would imagine Victoria probably gets first choice when it comes to using this one, and then maybe her mother or somebody else also gets to borrow it from time to time. But this tiara is particularly associated with Victoria, so I give some credence to that rumor. And we also have Madeline in the modern fringe tiara, which was one that was gifted to her by her parents for, we believe, her wedding. It's not clear exactly when it came into her personal ownership, but I think this one looks particularly lovely. It's, I think, one of the better, more modern tiaras that we've seen. And it could be new, it could be older. We just call it the modern fringe. And it has this great fringe motif to it, but it's obviously less substantial than the Baden fringe. And it can also be converted into a necklace, and Madeline wore this for her wedding. Princess Sophia wore her Palamet tiara, which was one also purchased for her by the family. It's personally owned by her, and she has 5 different settings that she can put with it. She has, or maybe I should say 6, because she can top it with emeralds, which is how it was originally given to her, citrines, turquoise, blue topaz, and pearls, in addition to diamonds. So this one is very versatile and one that she wears pretty frequently anymore. We hardly ever see her bust out one of the family tiaras, which is a bit of a surprise because the Swedes are very blessed in that way. So next we have in 4th place, Prince Christian's birthday. And I will just go through these quickly because there are so many and I don't want to get this video to get insanely long. And I do have a whole video dedicated to this. So in events where I have whole videos just on the tiaras and give more of a deep dive, I will link that in the video as well. We have Princess Catharina Amalia in the sapphire necklace tiara from the Netherlands. We have Princess Elizabeth of the Belgians in the Wolfers tiara, and this is the first time she's worn this tiara. And it was also the first time we've seen Catharina Amalia in the sapphire tiara. The Dutch, as well as the Swedes, and obviously the Brits too, are very blessed to have large tiara collections. So hopefully we'll see Catherine Amalia's sister Alexia, who just turned 18 this year, in a tiara before too long. We also have Princess Ingrid Alexander in the Princess Ingeborg Boucheron Circle Tiara, and this was one that came back into the main line of the family, and one that was given to her for her 18th birthday because the Norwegian collection is small, like many of the other royal collections. We have Crown Princess Victoria in the Boucheron Laurel Wreath Tiara. This tiara's shape is a bit tricky, but there's a long history attached to it, and it was also worn by Princess Lillian, who was a very much beloved great aunt to Victoria. She was very close with her, and the rest of the family was as well, so she inherited this tiara and a necklace as well. Crown Princess Mary wore her wedding tiara, which made sense because it was her son's birthday. And we also have Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway in the Diamond Daisy Bandeau tiara. We have Queen Marguerite of Denmark in the Pearl Portier tiara. And we also have Princess Marie in Princess Dagmar's floral tiara. And she is aunt to Prince Christian. And we have Crown Princess Marie Chantal of Greece in the Queen Sophie's Diamond tiara, which is a substantial piece. And there's a big connection between the Greeks and the Danes. So Queen Marguerite of Denmark, her sister is Queen Anne-Marie of Greece. And so there is a family connection there. So the Greeks often attend these events. They don't attend everything because there is no Greek throne anymore. So they're just not invited to quite as much. Okay, in third place, we have Crown Prince Hussein's wedding. He is going to be the future king of Jordan, and he married Rajwa. And so her tiara was made by thread because pretty much everybody who marries within the Jordanian royal family gets their own personal tiara on their wedding day. It appears like there's not really ones that travel through the family quite as much as compared to other families. And the tiara was inscribed with the Arabic phrase, hope from God, although I think there's sort of another variation floating out there as well. And his sister, Princess Iman, also got married this year. And I will say, I love Iman's Dior dress, wedding dress. I think it is fabulous. I'm not as much a fan of Rajwa's, but I love Princess Iman's. And at the evening reception, we have Queen Rania in the Arabic scroll tiara. We have Maxima once again in her steward tiara, Princess Catherine Amalia in a different tiara, the peacock. We have Princess Elizabeth wore the tiara purchased for her on her 18th birthday. It's an antique. We have the laurel wreath again from Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. So many tiara appearances here. We also have Catherine and the Queen Mary's Lover's Knot, and obviously Beatrice as well in the York tiara. So many tiara appearances here. I think it would be hard to go through them all. I have a whole video on it though, but this was really an incredible wedding. And when it comes to the event, I think I chose for my top look Princess Beatrice for the reception and the earlier service. And I still stand by that because I think Beatrice was particularly on point at this event. Although her tiara looks a little crooked, which is kind of cute. I don't know if it's the way she's standing, or I don't know if it's actually crooked, or if it's like an illusion of the camera or whatever. But I thought she looked particularly great at this event. So excited to see her there, and just the opportunity to see these other royal ladies as well. And I remember, guys, I spent all day watching this event. I started at like 8 in the morning, and it didn't end until like 4 in the afternoon. I kept waiting for the tiaras, and that didn't happen until really late in the day, and really late in the day there. I think I want to say the evening reception, unless they were on a massive delay, started about 9 or 10 o'clock at night. Very late day. So what do we have for our top 2? Because this is sort of interesting, because obviously we've gone through the biggest royal events, but I think there's 2 particular tiara moments I think really made people stop and pay attention. One of them was Queen Camilla, so this is in second place. Queen Camilla wearing the Great Britain and Ireland tiara, which is so iconic to Her Majesty the Queen. It's so iconic, I think people were a bit shocked to see her wear it so soon. Obviously, she has access to the entire collection, but this is tiara. Obviously, we've seen Her Majesty in currency, stamps, so many pictures wearing this particular tiara. I have a whole video dedicated to it, so I won't go into too many details because I feel like we're retreading things again, because I think I've talked about the last couple videos. But I do think it's an incredible tiara. I will link the previous video up above, and I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I will say it almost feels a bit too early for Queen Camilla to wear it, but I think she does wear these particular pieces quite well. I think she wears the grander ones very well. Not everybody can pull those off, so I think she actually looks pretty good in it. But again, it was just shocking, almost felt a little too early to see it. And She wore it again for the diplomatic reception as well in December, and Catherine actually repeated her entire look from the Jordanian Royal Wedding there as well. And finally, in the #1 spot, and this one, I was like, oh, I can't believe it. #1 spot is Catherine, the Princess of Wales, wearing the Strathmore Rose Tiara. This tiara has been in the vault for 90 to 100 years. It has not been seen on the head of a royal in 90 to 100 years. We know for sure it was worn in the 20s. It might have been worn in the 30s, but those things are just a bit hard to track sometimes. But we know for sure it's over 100 years old, and we haven't seen it officially really since the 1920s. It's been so long since we've seen this particular tiara. And we have been told it had been too delicate, that nobody could wear it. It had been on display at a particular point, but had not been worn. And then Catherine busted out for the state visit from South Korea. And I think everybody just was like, oh, it's a Strathmore Rose. I know I was like that. I'm sure other people were too. And just a bit of a history here, although I have a whole video on that too. It was given to Elizabeth Bowles-Lyon for her wedding by her parents, the Earl and Countess of Strathmore. And if you do not know that, she became Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother. So it was given to her at the event of her wedding, which happened 100 years ago this year. She married in 1923. It was actually, though, made in the late 19th century. And like I said before, it had not been seen in forever. So it was totally and completely shocking to see Catherine bring it out. And I'm so excited. I can't wait to see it more. I hope we see it so much more. And maybe it'll be one of the first ones Princess Charlotte wears, because you could say it's maybe a little bit of a step back, not quite as grand as Queen Mary's Lover's Knot. But as a historian, as somebody who loves this tiara and has seen it in books for so long and wanted it to be worn in Catherine's wedding, then Meghan's wedding, then Eugenie's wedding, then Beatrice's wedding, I wanted to see somebody wear this tiara in a wedding, and it just never ever happened. It was such a bummer because I so wanted to see it. Even though I didn't really want to see it on Meghan, I just wanted to see it. But so excited to see it finally bust out of the vault, and I hope we see more surprises from the Brits later this year. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe if you haven't already, if you like all things that glitter, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye.
We don't count the carats, we count the centuries.